Springfield Board of Mayor and Aldermen, regular meeting is called to order. Please stand and we'll say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Our first item on the agenda is 1.2, our moment of silence. Thank you. 1.3, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on April 16, 2024. We have a motion made by Alderman Gregg, a second by Alderman Arnold. Are there any corrections? No corrections? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 1.4, our public comment period. Do we have anybody to sign up? Okay. We'll move on to our first public hearing. Excuse me. Public hearing number 1, ordinance 2407, ordinance amending ordinance 18-19 by updating the city's stormwater management regulations to be consistent with the new state requirements. If you would like to speak, please come to the mic. You have 2 minutes. No one would like to speak? Public hearing is closed. Our legislative agenda. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 24-07 on a second and final reading, or ordinance amending ordinance 18-19 by updating the city's stormwater management regulations to be consistent with the new state requirements. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. Any questions on the second and final reading? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 24-08 on a first reading, or ordinance amending the fiscal year 2024's annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general funds and utility funds operating budget. Motion made by Alderman Gregg, a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. Any questions on our budget? Any discussion? Sorry, my nose is, I think the pollen has got me. No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Sorry, you're fine. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 24-09 on a first reading. An ordinance adopting the annual budget and the tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024 through June 30th of 2025. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss, a second by Alderman Holloman. Hard to believe we're talking about the budget. Seems like that goes by really, really fast. Any questions on the budget?
Lisa
Get-
just wants us to hurry up and vote.
And I will say Ms. Lisa Crockett's done a great job along with all the department heads and Ryan and Candace of coming up with our budget. This is the first time I've been setting up here in 16 years that we're starting to pay cash for things. And that's a great feeling as a city. And our bond rating is wonderful. And that's one of the most important things if we're trying to borrow money when we do large projects. Any discussion on the budget? We had a great workshop. There's no discussion. We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 24-10, ordinance amending the schedule of rates and fees for the electric department. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Alderman Gregg. To discuss. Any questions on the electric rates? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 24-11, or ordinance rescinding ordinance 22-08 in its entirety and setting a new schedule of rates and charges for the Springfield sewer system. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss, a second by Alderman Gregg. Any questions? No discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on resolution 24-06, a resolution accepting the cashier's check in the amount of $3,775 from Bernstein Construction LLC to guarantee maintenance surety for the Oakland Farm subdivision Phase 3. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss, a second by Alderman Trotter.
Exactly what is this?
It's a maintenance bond or maintenance surety for infrastructure improvements. So you move from the performance phase to the maintenance phase on the development of a subdivision, and that's all this is. It's for a small section of Oakland Farms that was built. So this is completed infrastructure, and this is just maintenance surety.
Seemed like an awfully low amount. So.
It is
I don't think we've ever seen that small of an amount
It's
before.
very low.
Any other questions about this? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Our administrative agenda, 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment. Oh, well, okay.
Skip one there.
Miss Melissa's telling me that I've skipped 2.7, discuss and possible take action on resolution 24-07, a resolution declaring certain properties surplus and authorizing the disposal of such properties. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. Any questions, ladies and gentlemen? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Now we're ready for our administrative agenda. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the retail electric rates for the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, second by Vice Mayor Harris. Do we have good news on our electric rates?
It's a 7.64.
Yeah, time of the year.
Summertime.
I was expecting that, I guess. Any questions? No questions, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the monthly gas rates for the Springfield Gas Department. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. I hope you have better news than your friend over here. Okay,
It's down 11.8%.
I like that. I like it. Any questions, discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.3, discuss and possible take action on the renewal of the interlocal agreement for consolidating emergency dispatch services through E911 district. Motion made by Alderman Gregg, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Before we get started, I will thank Chief Head for all his work on the E911 board. They all tell me what a wonderful job you were doing there. Any questions on this agreement? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.4, discuss and possible take action on a renewal of a contract with VC3 Inc. of Columbia, South Carolina for managing IT services. We need a motion to discuss. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss this renewal. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action on a contract with Neo Government of Segundo, California, for applicant tracking software. So sorry I butchered that. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Alderman Gregg to discuss this. Any questions on this contract? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.6, discuss and possible take action on a 3-year license agreement in the amount of $87,900 for Environmental Systems Research Institution of Redlands, California for mapping and spectacle analysis software from the Engineering and Information Technology Department. Budgeted was $29,300. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss this.
And this is, oh, sorry, this is broken down across 3 years for that 89,000.
It is budgeted, and really it's just a consolidation of the Esri software amongst departments. It's an enterprise license agreement that allows all of our departments to kind of operate, in our engineering department to coordinate that effort with GIS.
Okay, good.
Good question. Make sure everybody understands that. Any other questions or discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.7, discuss and possible take action on an appointment to various boards and commissions. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Gregg. Yes, sir.
Inform the board, I know this is since you're the one that serves on the commission, but
thank you.
we have one term that's expiring this month. We'll have a lot next month. We have a lot of June 30, 2024 expirations, but we only have one this month, and that is the Logan Todd Regional Water Commission. The mayor currently serves on that, and so that would be the only appointment that would be up this month.
Thank you for putting that out, and I do not receive money from that, so. Any questions? No questions, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. 3.8, discuss and possible take action on a donation of Gardner Street Park. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris to discuss, a second by Alderman Holloman. This is a great Eagle Scout project. The gentleman that's doing it is in the audience tonight, Eli Donker. We're excited about this. If you have any questions, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. I'm sure you've read this on your computer. We're so excited. It's just so amazing.
I'll be the dumb one. What is it?
So that's,
I couldn't wait for that
that's a
question.
great question.
I'm glad someone asked. Hold on.
Save me.
Yeah, so you'll have a picture up, and Mayor, I would invite, if you
Eli.
would invite Eli to kind of talk about
Come on up,
a
Eli,
little
to
bit
the
about
microphone.
what the purpose behind the project and Gaga Ball.
Welcome.
So Gaga Ball, you see a picture on the, that is the craze of the kids now. Mr. Gregg and I were talking before the meeting, and he said, I don't know what it is. I said, well, ask your grandkids because they will know. My son loves it, and that's the craze, and this will be a great addition to Garner Street Park for particularly, some of the younger kids. But, yeah, Mayor, I'll turn it back to you if you want to give the floor
Thank
to Eli.
you. Please tell our group and our audience about yourself for a second. We've got plenty of time, and then go into this project that you're doing.
All right. Well, my name's Eli. I've been a Boy Scout for 6 years. I've been in scouting for 9 years. I was a Cub Scout for 3 years. I love Scouts, as you can see. I've worked extremely hard towards my Eagle Scout. Most of the guys that I know that achieve their Eagle Scout get it closer to 17 or 18 years old. And you have a deadline. You have to meet all the requirements to get your Eagle Scout by 18. And I am almost 16 years old, so I'm kind of ahead. So I started taking my time, so I could have been done by now, but all Gaga Ball is it's almost like dodgeball in a way. You have an octagon pit, and the goal is to be the last man standing. You can have as many people as you can fit in the pit. The rules are you can't touch the ball with your legs, but you can touch it with your hands, only your hands. So you hit the ball, try to get the other person out. And I haven't seen many Gaga Ball pits around here. That's why I thought it would be a good idea to build one for my own community. Almost all the scout reservations I go to have Gaga Ball pits, so everybody that I know in scouting loves Gaga Ball. So hopefully the kids in our community will too.
Sounds like some of them already know about it.
Yeah.
I'll amend it, amend the motion that when it's installed, that Mr. Martin and Mr. Gregg have to christen it.
I second.
Give us an opportunity to get up to speed on how to play, and then maybe we'll do that.
We don't want anything broke. Let's, we'll get some kids.
How many balls do you use, just one?
Just one, yes, sir.
Okay.
But a separate thing from this young man deserves some appreciation.
He does.
Absolutely. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I assume we'll have like a ribbon cutting for it.
Now, we're gonna have a christening.
Yeah, Greg.
So we've got to vote to accept it.
Yeah, you'll be over Parks and Recreation one of these days.
Terry's got a retirement date in mind, so. Gee, they're already replacing you. Oh, I can't wait for that ribbon cutting, so that's amazing. Now we need to vote on accepting this. Any other discussion before we vote? Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, Eli. 3.9, discuss and possible take action on contract for the financial statement audit service. Motion made by Alderman Holloman, a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions on this audit?
Is this replacing,
Yeah, this is replacing Thurman Campbell. Remember they got out of the governmental auditing business and are strictly private sector, so that forced us to go out, and Lisa and her staff have been interviewing folks. We only had 2 responses, and so this is an increase, it's a little bit of a price increase, and there are only 2 responses that we received because of some new things. No one really wants to do local government
how
auditing.
much of an increase?
No, we were paying like 53,000, it's gonna be 75.
It's
We're lucky we found
It
anybody.
used to be 59, I look back, the highest
Any other questions? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Our consent doc.
Mayor, without objection, I move to take as one.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on the consent doc? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. And I will wish all the graduates at Springfield High School that graduated on Thursday night, congratulations and kudos to all of them. It was amazing how many scholarships were given out at Springfield High School and how many wonderful students we have. I'm gonna turn it over to our city manager, Mr. Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. Want to give you a heads up. We'll be communicating to the public. The citywide paving project will begin within the next couple of weeks. Weather will play a factor into that as far as how much gets done and how quickly, but we'll try to communicate those closures and when they'll be. As you know, Black Patch Drive is going to be one of the primary components to that paving project, as it is in desperate need of resurfacing. It was already, due, but then the construction traffic for the Batson Parkway extension exacerbated that problem. Also want to tell you the message is going out. You may have seen the lead and copper survey for water service lines is underway. We're required by the EPA to conduct a survey of our residents and of any of our customers of lead and copper, if they have lead and copper service lines. This is not whether we have lead water services. Now, we're responsible as well, and so ever since the EPA outlawed the use of lead in 1988, I believe, or 89, it's been our practice when we find those to remove them. And so we're not aware of any lead services or lead mains that we have left, but no one's ever touched the other side of the meter, right? And that's what the EPA is now focusing on, is on the other side, the customer side of the meter, their service. And so we're asking everyone to please complete that survey, and then we report that information and kind of wait on our next guidance from the EPA as far as what to do. So that goes out. We don't want to alarm anyone or get anyone. So I wanted to communicate to you kind of the purpose of that survey. This is something that all utilities across the country are doing. So we've got bill stuffers that are going out with the information. You'll see information on social media and that sort of thing. But that's what it's about, asking residents. Because I expect that for those that don't respond to the survey, at some point in time, we're going to have to send someone out there to check it for them. So we ask everybody. That would help tremendously, and then we just will await our next guidance from the EPA on what they want us to do with that information. So in good news, local option sales tax is about $700,000 ahead of budget with one more month remaining in the year. So economically, from a commercial, sales perspective, the economy's really good here in Springfield. And so we've had a really good year, hoping that continues. Obviously, in our FY25 budget, we budgeted conservatively. We didn't budget for that kind of trajectory to continue. We did budget for a slight increase, but not quite as large of an increase. And then in June, wanted to give you a heads up on June items. We've already had some items requested to be on the agenda from some of you, and so we'll have some discussion items on the agenda. I've had conversations with the city attorney about a couple of those. Court fees will be one of those, as far as what our city court fees are, as well as special occasion beer permits. We'll have that on the agenda to discuss. So if you have anything else, please let us know. And Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you all, and I appreciate Ms. Crockett and appreciate the department heads for the budget, and appreciate you all for also believing in us and believing in our employees. Obviously, our employees have a slight pay increase in that budget, and so and we talked about that at the work session. But for anybody that's watching, I appreciate you all believing in them and showing your appreciation for what they do for the city.
And thank you for taking your time out last week for our budget session here in this room. That certainly makes this regular meeting move faster when we let the city manager, the assistant city manager, and Ms. Crockett know which direction we want to go in. And I think that flows so much better that we do that extra meeting, and then we're not changing numbers while we're sitting here. So that certainly helps, and I appreciate each and every one of you coming out last Tuesday, and our department heads.
We usually wait to June to change. Raise our blood pressure.
Okay, so she's gonna go home now and wonder what you're gonna try to do, and she's gonna be up all night. Thank you, thank
Very well
you.
put together, buddy.
Very, very well. Thank you so much. The meeting is adjourned.